Welcome back to Flow 101. In today's video, we're going to talk about automated cloud flows. So let's dive right in. What is an automated cloud flow? Well, if you're coming from the traditional CRM and Dynamics 365 background, these are pretty much your asynchronous background workflows. But what's the big difference here? Well, you're not limited to just Dynamics 365. My actions and my conditionals don't have to take place in Dynamics 365, but they can still update my data, which is really cool. There's a condition, so that's a trigger in Power Automate or Flow. And once that condition or trigger is met, the whole automation process is going to kick off. So the first thing I have here in this article, and I'll zoom in a bit here, is to plan your flow first. You're going to save a lot of time if you think about your flow and plan it out, especially as you're getting started instead of diving right in. So I would highly recommend planning it first. You can plan it in software diagram, or you can see in my screenshot here, I did it in good old-fashioned pen and paper. So we walked through a real-life use case that I needed to implement that I did while I wrote this blog. So my use case is on my website, which is CRM Heidi. I have this contact form. I must be doing something right in the wonderful world of content creation because the spam bots have found me. I am waking up to like 30, 40, sometimes more spam submissions on that contact form, which all clog up my inbox, which is fine, but it's annoying. So I want to only receive emails if they're legit form submissions by a person, and I don't want to see them in my inbox if it's spam. So based on that as my use case and what I want to implement in my system, I'm going to use Gravity Forms by Reenhanced. My contact form was built by Gravity Forms. I have another blog about that. And approvals. So when the form is submitted, I actually want to launch approvals, which is a really awesome use case if you're looking to get started with an automated cloud flow. So I want to manage this. I have the Power app on my phone. So approvals just pops up a little message that I can either approve or reject. If it approves, I want to get an email. If it's not approved, if it's spam, I just want it to go away, right? I don't want that to be an email. So that's our background. That's our use case we're going to walk through. And again, plan your flow first. It doesn't have to be fancy. I mean, look at this little thing I wrote in my notebook. It's not a big deal, but just think about it. What's your trigger? Again, your conditional if you're thinking in CRM terminology, and then what actions are going to happen. So this use case has nothing to do with Dynamics, but I hope it ends up being helpful to illustrate what you can build in the automated cloud workflow. Now we're at make.powerapps.com. I've selected my environment, navigated to flows on the left-hand navigation pane, and I'm going to select new flow, and this is an automated cloud flow. This opens up this pop-up window where I'm going to name my flow and select my trigger. Now, since we've done our homework here, we kind of know what we already want to do. We've already determined what connectors we need and what trigger we're going to use, which makes this step a lot easier. So I'm going to name my flow spam, check. And my trigger, I'm going to type in Gravity because I know I want the Gravity Forms one. If you know the trigger name, you can type that in as well. So select your trigger and then click Create at the bottom. That's bringing us to our blank canvas where we can start to build out our flow in Power Automate. So the first thing I see is my trigger when a form is submitted. I can click on the ellipses here and rename it to make it more friendly, user-friendly. When someone fills out CRM Heidi contact form. You don't have to do this. It's just if it's helpful, you can name these a little bit differently. Now, I've already created this and built it out once for my blog to get the screenshot, so I've already authenticated in. Now, depending on the connector that you're selecting and the trigger that you're using, you may have to authenticate in like I did. You may have to sign in and provide credentials. It really depends on what you're using. So it'll walk you through what you need to do, and you can just authenticate, authorize, log in, whatever you need to do. So again, I've already done that. I can select my form. I've only got one form here. If you have more than one form on your site, you're going to see them all listed here. So my trigger is done. When someone fills out the Contact CRM Heidi form, this is going to launch. So now what? What happens next? So we're going to click New Step. And then here's all these operations. This is where we can go really in depth with our automations, but we're going to start simple. Again, we're just following this. I have a form. I just want to get emails if it's a real submission and not spam. So this is going to be a simple flow. I'm going to look for my approvals. So here's approvals. And once I click approvals, it's going to show me my options. Do I want to create an approval? Do I want to start and wait for approval or wait for? I always do start and wait for approval. And if you're getting started with Flow and Power Automate, approvals is a really great spot to start. They're fantastic. They're one of the easiest wins and use case scenarios that you can come up with. So think about all the things that you do in your job or your organization where an approval of some sort is necessary. And this kind of automates the whole process, which is neat. So now we have approval type. It's the only required field at this point. So let's see what these look like. There's a few different ways. And again, this really is going to be unique to how you want this to work at your company. Do I want approve or reject? Everyone must approve. Approve or reject just first to respond. Do I want custom responses? And do I want those custom responses to wait for all people to respond or just one person to respond? And then I can have custom values. So this is a simple one. It's me. I'm the only person that's looking at any of these. So we're just going to do first to respond. Now, you can see as soon as I select it, it kind of opens up new fields for me. Like everything else that we are accustomed to in the Dynamics 365 CRM world, a red asterisk means required. So we have to give names to these things. So title, new form submission. And if you see on the right-hand side, it kind of popped up all these dynamic values, which looks and feels familiar when you're writing a classic workflow, right? You can access different ways to pull in fields from different related entities or the entity that you're on or the tables and kind of have some really cool dynamic text here. And that's exactly what this is. This is your dynamic content from the form. See how the logos all match? So these are the fields that are on the form. How cool is that? So new form submission, and I'm just going to put first name space last name. Assigned to. Now, this is for the approval. Who do I want to assign the approval to? So if you have a team of approvers, you're going to list them all out individually. And if you've selected you want to approve, reject, all must respond, every single person needs to come on there and approve it before it will ever move forward, before you move on to the next step. And approve, reject, first to respond like we're using here, it just needs one person. So it's going to look for that first person. Now, if you have logic outside of those confines, that's a great use case for that custom option instead of picking first to respond or all respond. So anyway, I'm going to write Heidi at reenhanced.com for assigned to. And then we've got all these other fields. So I can click in here and see additional. If I want to add additional information here, I certainly can. I don't have to if I don't want to. So I'm going to come into details because I want to pull in some more dynamic text here. And we'll write like form sent in on. And let's grab the date created. Awesome. All right, that's probably all I need. I like to save these things. I think this goes back from like my CRM background where I would work on a workflow and then like my computer would freeze and I'd lose it. So I save these things a lot. You don't have to. It's just how I do it. Now we're going to go to new step and now we're going to choose our operations. So we have the trigger when somebody fills out my form on a specific form. I want to start and wait for approval. Just the first person has to approve it. It doesn't have to be everyone. And now what happens? So now I want a condition, which is here. So if it's approved, I want to get the email. If it's not approved, I just don't want anything to happen. So our condition, we're going to click in this box that says choose a value. And once again, it's going to show me all the dynamic content. So look at the dynamic content now. So I've now got everything from the prior to connectors. Remember, connector is a wrapper of an API. It's just a wrapper around. It's a way to get data from one area to another. And you don't need to use Kingsway Software Scribe, which is cool. So now, always check out those icons if you're not clear where it's coming from. So these are my approval fields if I want to bring in dynamic content. And below that are my gravity forms fields. So I can go really crazy with this. So really simple here though. I just care about the outcome. And I'm going to do if the outcome is approved. Because remember, if we can click back here and see it, my only outcomes are going to be approve or reject. All right. So hopefully you're staying with me. When someone fills out the form, I want to start and wait for an approval. I'm going to pull in information from my form so I can see it in that approval. I want to add a conditional. So if the outcome is approved, I want to take additional action. If it's not, I want it to stop. You know what? I think I might kind of change the logic a little bit just to have a little fun. So if yes, add action. If no, add action. So if yes, I'm going to click to add action. And I know I didn't put this in our building, but have you heard about the notifications connector? This is really cool. It just sends a push notification. So I'm going to do this because I am using my mobile app anyway. So this will just pop up on my phone. So I would like it to send me a mobile notification. I'm going to select that. Now I haven't turned that on, so you could see it created my connection to this. So this is a free connector. When there's a free connector, it's usually really simple to connect it in and start using it. So what's my text? We're going to say new form submission, not spam, smiley face. And I'm going to scroll down a bit until I get to my gravity forms thing, and we'll just put the email in there. So I'll get a mobile notification on my phone letting me know that there was a new form submission and it wasn't spam. But you can really just, I think in the blog I wrote I wanted it to send me an email, so I can do that too, right? So send me a mobile notification and email. So let's see what we've got here. Send a mail notification. That's using the mail connector. Then we have these Office 365 Outlook connectors. We've got Gmail connectors. So there's a lot of stuff you can do. I use Outlook, so I will just do that. And we'll select send an email. Again, that's going to authenticate me in and create that connection between Office 365 Outlook and everything else. There we go. So now I'm going to put my email address in. Here I am. So I started typing. It's probably doing it too fast, and you can see it popped up. It recognized that from my Office 365. So subject, new form from, and remember I've got all my dynamic content here, so I'm going to keep using it because I think it's really cool. From first name, space, last name, and then in the body of the email, I'm going to scroll down again. So I'm interested in submitted on, because again, I'm waiting until I get the approval here. So I might not know when this form was actually submitted. And then I can pull anything else on that I want. Oh, an email address would probably be helpful, wouldn't it? There we go. All right, so there's also expressions over here. This is more advanced. We're not going to cover this now. I am much less comfortable in expressions. I feel like that's where the developers really shine. They're like, I got this, I'm going to do it. So I've played around with some entry-level expressions that are kind of along like Excel thinking versus some things like here, you've got JSON in here. I don't know JSON. So anyway, that's what expressions are, but we're just doing dynamic content. If no, I'm just not going to do anything because I don't care. I don't want it. So I'm going to save this, and then let's walk through this all one last time. When someone fills out my form, the contact form, I want to start and wait for an approval. This approval is an approve, reject, first to respond. I have created a really great title that my approvers are going to see. It has some great dynamic data that's going to pull in the first name, last name, interest, created on. I'm going to wait until that outcome is approved. If it's been approved by someone on my approvals team, I want it to send me an email, a mobile notification, and it's also going to send me an email with the details. If not, no more spam bots clogging out my email. So when you're all done, you can click Save. And let's talk a little bit about these fields at the top. Then we have a flow checker. Flow checker is really cool. This is like your solution checker in the new Maker portal for Dynamics 365. It'll let you know if there's any errors or warnings. And this is what you want, right? You want it to have a big fat 0 here. If there's any errors or warnings, you'll have to fix that before you can launch your flow. And finally, the very last step before activating this is to test it. So you click this test icon. Manual is I'm going to perform the starting action to trigger it, or automatically. Just wait until it automatically happens. So I will select manually, and then we're going to get this to run. All right, so we're going to click the test button at the bottom. Oh, my form's on my other screen, but that's okay. I'm going to fill out my form and just my name, my email address, and I'm going to say I'm interested in Power Automate. Click Submit. And now we should be able to watch this flow in real time as it completes the steps. So I have my phone open too, because remember, I have my approval on my phone. So here's my approval, my push notification. It's letting me know there's a new form submission from Heidi Lee, Heidi@Heidi.com, and it's asking me to approve or reject. I can add comments if I want. So I'm going to tap approve and confirm. And the magic of the internet, we should be able to see that approval process. So there it is. And the condition was met. And I just got another notification letting me know that I have a new lead, which is awesome. So your flow ran successfully. Hooray! Could go back to it. And now it's good. It's rocking and rolling. We've created our first cloud flow, an automated cloud flow. It had 3 connectors, and I told you it was only going to have 2. And it's working beautifully, which is awesome. So I hope this was a good use case. If you have something that you want to work on, well, let me just show you, because if you see this, you can go back to edit. If you need to go and make changes. So the first time failed and I edited it out, and that's because I mistyped my email address. So it failed because I had the wrong email address. So I deleted that terrible take and gave you this perfect take where everything worked out the way that it should. So we can go back to edit, and that brings you back to the canvas view. So this worked really well. Maybe if you were checking it out, you realized, oh, maybe it would be better if I map something else, or I missed some other information that I wanted to add in. Well, you can come back here, you can come back here and add any change that you want, any modifications. We can take this a step further. You can add a new step after your conditional. So if it's approved and it's done all those things, then you can launch a whole new app, which is really cool. So think about what you want to automate. Think about things that are happening in kind of a workflow environment in or out of Dynamics 365. I'll record another video that's more Dynamics focused using the Common Data Service connector a little bit later. But I wanted to get started with approvals because I think pretty much everyone has an approval process for something. And this is a great way that you can automate it. You don't have to use the mobile app. That's just something I like using. You can use Teams for approvals. If you're using Teams in your organization, it's a wonderful use case. We're using that at Reenhanced for our internal blog peer review process. So when someone creates a new blog for Reenhanced, we go into Teams, we submit a URL, and that kicks off the whole approval process. Is completely automated. So an email is sent out to our blog approval team. Those people will check it out, and it's first to approve. It's not all to approve or reject. Send any feedback through the Teams bot that pops up. So again, just lots of cool use cases on what you're doing. So if you need help on this, if you need help thinking about your problem, your project, something that you're looking to do, send me an email, Heidi@Reenhanced.com. I'd be happy to help you out. And hopefully this is getting you excited to start using Power Automate to build your first automated cloud flow, which is pretty cool. So again, let me know what you think and if you have any questions. Thanks. See you next time.